Hi guys, I'm here to talk to you today about some handstand tips. These are not drills or exercises, they're really just some tips to think about when you're moving into your handstand, specifically handstand for these tips for the most part, but I mean a lot of them can go across the board. First and foremost, your hands. You want to press into your hands. So for me, the longest time I thought hands flat. And then as I practiced and I learned more, I started to understand that actually having a bit of a spider finger can be a little bit more effective. So hands flat looks like that. Spider finger is kind of lifted up a bit so that you're pressing into your fingertips. It's not quite this much, but just to exaggerate it and show you what I mean, you're pressing into your fingertips. So you're a little bit here. You're still pressing into the heel of your hand and you're still rooting down, but it's a bit more through the fingertips and the heel of your hand. Another thing that I think gets kind of confusing is that a lot of people think that your hands need to be like this, all 10 fingers kind of facing the same direction. And while you can do that for sure, like there's so many gymnasts and different sort of acrobats that can do that, no problem. For me, it helps to kind of take the hands out a bit. It allows me to stay more broad through my chest. It allows me to kind of keep this space open. So those are my tips for your hands. Now, along those lines, you want to make sure that your wrists are very nice and warmed up. So if your goal is to do inversions, especially handstand, because you're on your hands specifically, you've got to get your wrists to stretch out. So lots and lots of rolls, lots of different ways to stretch out your wrists as you do this. Otherwise, you are going to be sore and it's not going to feel good. It's going to be real crunchy in your wrists. The next thing I would like to talk about is when you move into your handstand, you want to think about lightness in your legs and an upwardness of your body, like an upward energy or movement that you're doing. So you're rooting into your hands, but you are really light, thinking lightness in your legs and your body, as if there's this energy that's just pulling you up and zipping you up. That can help you kind of to not feel so heavy. It's so interesting to me how just your mindset moving in, like how you perceive your body can make your practice show up so much differently. Furthermore, moving on, you want to stack your joints. So huge tip is getting your hips above your shoulders. And that doesn't mean beyond your shoulders. And it doesn't mean way back behind, but you want to stack the hips above. So a lot of times, what I see when people are working their drills, they're going like this, or, can you see me? Yes, okay, so we're going here, but the hips are not really going very far at all, and then sometimes you'll see, like dipping in the low back there, and the hips are moving forward. Instead of even practicing getting your legs up, first is to get that pike, and that wasn't even a good example, so pike. Hips are lifting, and for me to keep my legs straight is a bit more challenging, so I'll bend my knees and I'll just play with this space right there with the hips working to stack. And then as the legs begin to extend out and long, you're really trying to stack everything in and along that line. So thinking lightness in my legs, lifting up, and then stacking through joints. And this is still a practice that I work on every day. I mean, ideally it would be every day. It's not every day, but it's still something that I work on every time I come back to my yoga practice. Inversions, I've always been interested in them, but I've been working on them for so long. And then I got pregnant and then things kind of reversed in my core. So it's a lot to do. And it's a work in progress every single day. So don't get upset about it or disheartened. I see the progress when I put in the work. So keep that in mind. The other thing that is so super important for your inversions is your core. And I think that is probably what I was lacking for a long time. I have always been very back bendy, so a lot of times my legs would flip over. The best way to counteract that is to brace through your core. So like your core is a slinky. You want to think about pulling it in, keeping it compact, as opposed to letting it flip one side or the other. It can be helpful too if you just maintain like a handstand on the wall. Maybe you take your fingertips to the wall, you get yourself into your handstand position. I have a painting there, I'm trying not to destroy it. Okay, so once you're there, flex your toes back and think about crunching in your rectus abdominis, like you're trying to tilt your hips towards your shoulders. Not so much that you're rounding in your back, but you are pulling these points towards one another so that your legs don't flip over. Now, if you don't have a problem with your legs flipping over, you may actually need that counter cue, meaning that you're not pulling so much in, but you're just trying to maintain the stack. Because if you are fine with it, you may just, your legs may not even lift up all the way. So things to think about. Everybody's practice is gonna show up differently, and that's cool. So no big deal. I hope some of these tips will help you. Last and final thing I want to speak to are your feet. You want to ignite your feet, whether you are flexing them like a dorsiflex where toes are flexing back, that's okay. Or pointing them, that's cool too. What I find is most effective for me is a floint or a point flex or a Barbie foot, because it still allows me, with my toes curling somewhat back, it gives me more integration through my core. If my toes are pointing too much, I find that it kind of loosens up my core and my legs are have more of a tendency to flip right over. So try that out. Try either the point or the flex, and if you can, the floint, I have found, such a silly word, is the most effective for me. So I hope that these tips helped you out. I hope that you can see some progress with this. I've also posted a video on some different drills, like general drills for working towards inversions. And I have some other videos specifically on headstand, forearm stand, and handstand coming soon. So I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Mwah.